So the Punchline Academy is all about paying homage to the people that paved the way before us. And I was telling my guests before I got here, I was really upset at myself because I only have 3 cassettes left from my childhood. And one of them is his cassette. He had a popping album in 93, but this guy has an amazing story representing my hometown, Ponce, Puerto Rico.
Yes.
K7, welcome to the Punchline Academy, bro. What's up?
Bro, feels even better that I'm talking up on Senor too, so
Yeah.
that's cool. That's cool. How you feel?
I'm doing great. So, all right, so you grew up in El Barrio. Talk about the climate, like 70s, early 80s, growing up in that environment there.
All right, so, as the story goes, if you've ever seen any of the movies, like, I'll give you an example, Paid in Full.
Yeah.
So that cast of characters was rolling around Spanish Harlem at that time.
Okay.
It was
Like the Alpos.
the Alpos. Alpo used to always be doing wheelies from like 96th Street all the way to like 112th Street. With Winky. I don't know if ever Winky's part of the Rough Riders and my boy Will. They used to always be running around doing wheelies on motorcycles without helmets. I mean, well, Alpo had a German helmet that he used to rock. So the neighborhood was cool. Like if I tell you that it was cool to grow up in Spanish Harlem during that period of time, I know that it seems all dangerous because of the climate back then, but it felt like a sense of community that I don't know if it still exists today, but like I loved growing up in Harlem then. It felt good to grow up in Harlem then because you do something wrong, somebody knew your mother within seconds, you'd be in
They
trouble.
get that call.
But you always felt protected either way. Either, the local hood always had your back anyway, so it was always cool for me.
Yeah. You grew up in an environment with Latin superstars such as Mark Anthony and La India.
Yeah.
And I mean, just looking back at it, because we were talking a little bit off air about how you used to be with Mark Anthony all the time.
Yeah.
And looking at where you guys' careers have all gone, I mean, was that something that maybe you guys used to chop it up back in the day and then...
Yeah, me and Mark went to, we not only grew up in the same neighborhood, but we went to the same high school. So we went to Julia Richmond on East 68th Street. And Mark was my best friend, and we bug out. So Mark really, before freestyle, me and Mark wanted to be songwriters. So we used to cut out of school to go to the, to the East River. There used to be a park on the East River, a walkway on the East River. And we used to hang there, and we used to try to write songs who could write the better song. And I always had my love for hip hop, and he wanted to be like one of the major pop artists. Like he loved all those major English pop records that were playing on MTV at the time. So, Mark would sit there and start singing a song and spread his arms out like he does now when he sings, and he starts singing these, always had the same voice. Him and his sister back then had a group. They used to do like these cable access commercials. If you could find them now, it would be funny as hell to see, because he has a twin sister. Mark is a twin. And they would do these cable access commercials all the time. Always the same guy, always funny, always had a sense of humor. We'd always get thrown out of class together because the teachers would try to sit us apart because we were wild, like there was this one teacher named Ms. Moondros, and she sat him right next to her desk, and she sat me in the front. And she thought, because sitting me in the front right across from him, she said, if they're not together, they won't talk to each other. But behind her back, Mark would start doing faces.
So it was even worse.
It was worse.
Was even worse. And I could not look up. I had to keep my head down. And he'd like call for something. And I knew that he was trying to get my attention. He'd get thrown out of class. And Mark was a rebel. So Mark would stand outside, like say outside the window here. And he'd stand in the corner. He'd be like, come outside. And Ms. Moondros would be like, yo, you want to join your friend? And I'm like, nah. But Mark wouldn't let up. And then they'd throw me out. We'd have to either go to the deans or we'd do some crazy stuff. Mark was nuts.
I think Tone is nuts too, by the way. He's this
Pause.
guy's a character.
Pause. Crazy.
I'm listening to the story and I'm reminiscing about my days in school getting kicked out.
We all did that stuff.
I think if you didn't get kicked out of class at least once, like you didn't have much of a childhood.
That was our thing. The funniest thing, I'll tell you, both Mark and I tried out for the performing arts school. And they didn't take either one of us.
And
So
what was the popular music at this time?
it was pop music. It was pop. It was the beginning of hip hop. So it was, you know, like
End of disco?
transitioning from disco to it was a transition from disco to electro music.
Okay.
Electro is more or less like Planet Rock. What came after Planet Rock or around that period of time, like AEIOU, Play at Your Own Risk, Body Mechanic. I'm naming a whole bunch of acts from back then, songs from back then. And the original KTU, the disco KTU, was coming off the air. So we were still transitioning between AM and FM radio. Okay. So it was a bugged out time musically.
So they were playing music on AM as well?
They were playing music on AM.
Really? So it wasn't talk like how it is now?
Yeah. It wasn't like talk radio like today. Today's talk radio. Back then they used to play the hits. It would be like Z100. Z100 would be like Z100, or you know, would definitely be an AM radio station, or the likes of a radio, you know, AM radio station from back then. And in the neighborhood, it was still salsa because Harlem was Harlem, you know. But we'd always try to go outside our orbiting planet. So I would always go towards 125th Street, 116th Street, start going towards Lenox. I could because I was a dark Rican.
you got the pass. Yeah.
So I got the pass, and you know, and my love of early hip hop, my love for like, you know, those convention cassettes that had like Flash and that had Cold Crush on it, you know, and being around Rocksteady as a kid made me want to find this, you know, the beginnings of what hip hop was, you know, at the time. So I used to pass out flyers for a place called Harlem World that was on the corner of 116th Street in Lenox. Okay. Now it's a supermarket. I think it's a supermarket. But it used to be a club. It's where Andre Harrell started it. And they would have every Friday and Saturday, they would have like a show there, and they would bring all these, I want to say early hip hop acts, Cold Crush, Force M. At the time, they were the Force MCs, not the Force MDs. What do you call it? Africa Bambaataa, Furious Five, Grandmaster Don and the Deaf Committee, the Fearless Four, and many others. You know, and as a Puerto Rican, I was like, I wanted to be around groups like Grand Wizard Theodore, because Grand Wizard Theodore at the time. They had one MC who would blatantly say he was Puerto Rican at the time. That was Ruby D. And I was friends with Johnny D from Macedon and the Deaf Committee, who's actually Mark Anthony's cousin, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. If you guys know the song Ooh, Na 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 Na, they're the guys who first did that song before Master P then sampled it later. But so we were friends with them, and I wanted to find the Latino within it. So I would go to Harlem World. I would say, hey, can I get a cassette from, you know, the last weekend show? They go, you have to pass out this box. So they'd give me a box that was heavier than me. And I'd go down Lenox, passing them out all the way back home into Harlem. But no one from my neighborhood a lot of the kids from my neighborhood wouldn't go to these shows. But, you know, like I felt good when I'd come back and I'd have like the whole routine of Cold Crush, rhyming. And it made my day. It made me want to become part of the music business.
Yeah, and that was a dope time, Tone, because it was the era of the call and response, where like MCA would interact with MCB on one rhyme.
Yes.
And that's not easy to do.
No. In this modern age, I think the best time that I seen people do it was
MOP?
Brooklyn's MOP and Brooklyn's Finest with Biggie and Jay.
Okay.
Like they went back and forth finishing each other's lines. Meth and Big did it too on fuck. Can I curse?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
On Fuck the World.
Of course you can curse.
They were
SiriusXM.
They were going back and forth on that, but back then it would be like one line for rapper, and it usually be like four. So it'd be like you start off the line, I do the second, she do the third, he do the fourth, and we'd create our routines from that. That was a dope time because it wasn't. What's weird is there would always be one guy who wrote it, but everyone would get credit for it. You know, so the ghostwriter has always been part of hip hop. It's just now it's taboo. You know what I mean? But Grandmaster Caz, who wrote Rapper's Delight as well, is to me my biggest inspiration as a writer, whether it be pop records or hip hop. But he's my biggest inspiration, and he's the guy who used to write the routines like that for the Cold Crush.
Yeah, yo, it's crazy how Grandmaster Caz is such an influence on just everyone from that day and age.
Bro.
Yeah, his story needs to be spread more often. Like just yesterday, we were celebrating the release of one of Biz Marquis's albums, and I found out that he had written a couple songs on that joint.
Yo, I was 2 weeks ago. The week before last, I was in Orlando. I was hanging out with MC Search because I brought MC Search out during my show, and Search had just done a song with Caz, and to me, it felt like I was a little kid again hearing Caz rhyme. Like that guy right there is, you have to say the quintessential rapper. So before there was a Rakim, or before storytelling became an art, he was telling stories about Yvette and
So you would say he was the first?
To me, he was everything. He was like, for me, the first self-conscious rapper, comedian rapper, party MC. He was a jack of all trades, and he still is. Like if you hear him spit now in his 60s, right? He's still killing it. Like he's still like hanging with the young boys. So like, still, and he's the only person. Like I've met many artists, and he's the only person that when I see him, I become 12. Like Caz comes in the room, you see a big smile on my face, and it's like God is in the room. Like, like God MC, it's the same reaction that Rakim gets is the reaction that I give to Caz, because like other people may not know who he is, but the difference that he made for me,
and he DJs too. So multi-talented guy, just like you. Yeah. Now I looked you up and it said, there's not many people that can claim this, but you're a rapper and a singer, and you've had success in both fields. And you ever sometimes look at the current artists like Drake and Travis Scott, who kind of sing and rap at the same time, and go, man, they're my sons.
I wouldn't say. You know what the weirdest thing is? I think that we're all branches off the same tree. I think that we've been lucky enough to create something out of nothing, and we keep expanding that idea further and further. I remember a time where that style of MC was taboo.
Singing and rapping?
Singing and rapping. I mean, like I said, I mentioned Force MCs. Force MCs used to take the theme from every single TV show and turn it into a hip-hop routine.
Really?
And and do a half hour worth of singing TV themes, on stage. They would take F Troop, or they would take Gilligan's Island, or, and they would turn around and sing these songs, and they would get a reaction from all the ladies in the crowd, because the ladies know these songs from watching television, right? And the guys would be like, what they're saying sounds tough, right? And then when hip hop started changing, where the MC started really becoming more self-conscious, everyone started saying, nah, we don't want that singing shit. We don't want that singing stuff. So I remember the time where being a singer / MC became taboo. And it lasted up until, Fifth was saying the same thing about Ja Rule. He didn't like him because he was a singing nigga, right? Those hip hop has always been that way. It's like, depending on what wave is in, we'll say no to the singer / everything, but singer / rapper. But I believe that we're all parts of the same tree. We keep expanding it. We keep making it better. We keep reinventing. Trap music is basically singing,
literally.
And it's funny, I became popular not from being an MC. I became popular from doing dance music. We signed to Tommy Boy as a rap group, and at the time, Tommy Boy had Stetsasonic, and they had Rapping Duke, and they had Latifah, and they just finished signing Naughty by Nature, and they just finished signing Digital Underground. and they said, we don't need a bunch of Puerto Ricans rhyming. No, I'm dead ass. I'm talking serious. So what they wanted us to do, our first demos were rap. If you guys know Phoebe, you know UFO Phoebe. Yeah. His dad was in the group, and our first demos had him rhyming. And
so the first TKA demos were more geared towards hip hop.
Were more geared towards hip hop, and we had a singing song which was "Scars of Love," which ended up being the title of our first album. Yeah. And Tommy Boy was like, "Well, we have the Force MCs. We don't need that. They're doing R&B." Stetsasonic is, a hip hop band. They're there. They're doing the Stop the Violence campaign. Latifah's rhyming. We got Rappin' Duke. We need something different. Why don't we make them a Latin version of Planet Patrol, which is the group that first wrote a song to Planet Rock right after Bambaataa did it. They said, why don't we do a Puerto Rican version of Planet Patrol and have them sing?
So they were like experimenting with you guys.
Yeah, they experimented with. So from one day to the next, because we had that other demo, from one day to the next, they sat us in the studio and they brought in a vocal teacher.
Oh, so you guys didn't know how to sing at all?
Nah.
Wait, you didn't know how to sing?
Nah.
Really?
No, seriously. The only one of us that did know how to sing was La India.
Yeah.
And she wasn't even part of the group when they put us to sing. We got her as soon as we started to sing. They brought her in. She happened to be the cousin of a girl that I was dating at the time. Mm-hmm. And they brought her in, and she opened up her mouth and started singing some Luther Vandross stuff. And we were like,
wow, yeah.
Oh, wow. And we started doing demos with her. And Robin Halpin, who was at the time Tom Silverman. Tom Silverman was the owner of Tommy Boy. He's Tommy.
Nice.
So Tom Silverman's wife started giving us vocal lessons. And we'd show up to her house every single day at 3:00. And for like an hour and a half, she'd be doing scales with us. And either that or this Will Downing or Craig Derry were teaching us. Will Downing is a popular R&B singer, and Craig Derry was a very popular New York vocal. Now he's a vocal coach, but he was a popular New York background session singer at the time. And they started teaching us how to do it, and we're like, they put us on this the background to this group called. They end up being a group called Groove Beat Chill, but they call themselves, that's before Live Squad, they call themselves Rock Squad.
Rock Squad.
And we sang on this record called The Facts of Life. So that's the first time we ever sang on record. We wanted to rap on the record. We thought that they were bringing us in to rap on the song. And they go, we want you to sing background on it. So we ended up singing the hook.
Yeah, that's crazy learning that, a group that's admired so much in the freestyle world and in the pop world, y'all learned how to sing when y'all got signed already.
That's crazy.
Not only that, they are the most prominent group in freestyle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ever.
Yeah.
And to even know that you guys started as MCs.
Yeah. There was no such thing as freestyle. Freestyle came afterwards, and that's because what was electro died out because we started doing this different form of music. I call us a hybrid between house music and disco.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
The reason I say house music is not because we're doing 4 on the floor. It's because we ended up repeating, most of the groups ended up repeating the same drum pattern, which is basically, if you think about it, if you look at the basic groundwork of what hip hop is back then, one of the most used beats was love rap, right?
Yeah.
You know love rap.
Yeah.
Speed that up to 125 BPMs.
And now you got freestyle.
And now you got freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And Planet Rock is freestyle. So we just started writing songs to these hip hop instrumentals and started speeding them up. That's how we started doing it. In fact, when we got signed to Tommy Boy, we were doing, there was Mastodon and the Def Committee had the song.
And who was on Tommy Boy at this time?
At the time it was us, Stetsa, again rapping Duke, because Tommy Boy was going through that corny phase of I'm being honest, I'm being truthful. They had the great Peso from Fearless 4. he had just gotten signed. He had a song called "She's Wild" with the president of the company dressed up like the Statue of Liberty on the cover, and Africa Bambaataa and the Soul Sonic Force were going to put out their album around that same time that we got signed.
So like 82.
It was like around 83. We got signed in late 85 into 86.
Okay.
And so, yeah, like around, we were hanging around from 84, like from 84 on before we got signed. We were hanging around the label saying that we were going to be signed for so long that we would come back around the hood and say, yo, we're signed. We're going to be on Tommy Boy. And they used
And you
to be
wasn't
like,
even signed yet.
Nah. They used to be like, y'all bullshit. Like,
I'm
no,
going back to the block with
no
that
one,
flex too.
no one believed us. Like, we were doing like every single Sweet 16 that we possibly could around the neighborhood, but they were like, yeah, y'all bullshit.
Well, you know what's crazy right now? I brought up the date for a reason. So he's saying stuff that happened back in 84, 85, right? That's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My man, K7, you don't look like you're even 32 years old. You have found the fountain of youth.
Yo, it's spreading out your kids. I'll be honest with you. I know. I have a.
Do you drink and smoke or?
No, I do all of that.
Oh,
I have
Learn.
a.
Work for us.
Inf, you gotta
Definitely
learn.
need to open a Henny.
I have a 30-year-old. I have a 30-year-old. He just turned 30 last weekend. I have a 30-year-old. I have a 24-year-old, and I have a 6-year-old. And my 6-year-old.
Oh, you're still busy.
Yeah.
Spread them out.
Spread them out. And my 6-year-old keeps me busy. So if that, and I still jump around on stage. I think the only two people from my era that still dance on stage, it would be Kane, and I think me. Because I think everybody else doesn't want to dance because they're
Well, they
bones hurt.
can't. They both
Yeah. Arthritis is real.
Yeah, arthritis is real.
That's what it is, man. This is Punchline Academy, SiriusXM, Shade 45. Let's play some classic heat. And we're back here with my guy, K7 on SiriusXM's The Punchline Academy. That was classic heat here on the Punchline Academy, and I am so excited because my guy K7 drinks Hennessy like me. So my plan was to come into this sober, by the way, because I've
and be
learned,
decent.
So I've learned that I'm the type of person where I cannot have too much alcohol when I have a microphone,
Right.
because I just say whatever I'm thinking,
Bro.
and sometimes it can go left. So I have really practiced not drinking when I come here, but listen, you're here and I'm having a good time. So the Hennessy has officially arrived.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Let's go.
Okay, so I always wanted to ask you, right? Because when Maria came out,
Right.
shit took over the whole damn scene, right? And then it just kind of felt like you did a switch. I mean, now I know why, because you were an MC at first, but it was like from 1 minute, you're doing Maria and Louder Than Love, and the next thing I know, you're doing Zunga Zang. And
So here's the story, real quick. So we turned around in 90, like late 90 into 91. We would turn Texas, and the group started arguing.
okay,
At the time, I was doing demos for K7, for what I believed was going to be K7. And K7 originally, for me, was an idea that I wanted to create my own BBD within freestyle. I wanted to ask George Lamond to be in the group.
Okay.
I wanted to get this artist back then called Joey Kidd.
Okay.
I wanted us three to form a group. So I was writing all these demos and thinking at the time that freestyle was going to keep flourishing. I wrote Maria, and I wrote a couple of other songs. And when TKA started breaking up, my manager goes, well, if you guys are going to break up, we should do a greatest hits album. We've already put out 14 singles. We should do a greatest hits album. And I'm like, but we need songs to promote this greatest hits album. And he looked at me because he already knew I had demos, and he goes, can you give any other songs that you have? I already wrote Zunga Zang for K7, which I had demoed with Frankie Cutlass.
yeah, shout out to Frankie Cutlass.
And I had written a song called Body Rock, which I also did with Frankie. And I had Maria, and I had another song that I called I'll Make You Feel Good. And I had finished them, and he says, well, why don't you give Maria over to this thing, to this project? And I looked at him like, are you crazy? I'm like, you crazy? And he says, and we'll record another song. You and Tony Moran from the Latin Rascals will write another song. And I was like, I was cursing him out under my breath, but I said, fuck it. Like I felt like I was so confident in myself. I said I could write another hit. Not a big deal. And I gave the song away, not knowing that it was going to be the biggest song for TKA.
Yes.
And I kicked myself.
Even more than Louder Than Love?
Yes. It's in the order, it's Louder Than Love. It's Maria, Louder Than Love, and then One Way Love, which was our first song. That's the order of which are the most popular TKA songs. And I turned around, I was like, oh, fuck. Now I got to go do another year. I thought that the group was dead, so I thought I'd be free.
And instead, it had y'all stay together.
And it kept us moving for another year and change.
Okay, so you guys are breaking up before the record even drops?
Before the record even drops.
Crazy.
So now you guys are stuck together.
Now we're stuck together.
Because he's like, fuck, I did too good of a song.
Now we're stuck together. Now we get on the Paula Abdul tour.
And you guys charted, right?
Then we start charting on the song, and we start doing more shows than we had prior for this one song that starts popping off. And now I have to
deal with it.
It becomes the theme song for every single girl on the East Coast, right? Or any girl whose middle name is Maria, whose first name is Maria, who's ever watched West Side Story and thought she was Maria.
Everybody wanted to be Maria.
And I'm going, right. And so it starts working, and we're like, wow, now I got to stay. So I kept doing demos for K7, and I kept going, I kept feeling miserable that I gave the song away. But I don't think if I didn't give that song away, I don't think I would have a Come Baby Come.
Okay.
So because it made me work harder, because it made me say, well, if I lost this and this was good, I got to make sure that all the rest of the songs are good enough that, thing. And knock on wood, it gave me Come Baby Come, and that's been basically the song that's fed my kids and put my kids through college and all that stuff, and kept me working all these years.
Yeah. The song that made me buy the album was Move It Like This.
Move It Like This, yeah.
Because you had the nerve to be surfing.
But here's
you like on the beach.
While I
see the video.
While I'm up here, Move It Like This to me was me pretending to be Slick Rick.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you, when I recorded that song, I had a whole verse, because I used to laugh at Slick Rick was always like Treated Like a Prostitute was one of my favorite like old school records, and I used to laugh at all the things that Rick would do. So when I wrote Move It Like This, originally it had a verse about me meeting a chick at a Chinese food restaurant, and at one point I'm ordering pork fried rice, egg rolls and pork fried rice, and it's in the lyrics, and my manager goes, nah, you got to rewrite that. And I sat down and rewrote it, still thinking about how Rick would do it and still thinking about how I would perform it. And then I started getting the influences of songs like Love to Love You Baby by Donna Summer, or the theme song to The Godfather. And I started putting them all together. And that song is basically my sing-songy tribute to Slick Rick. When I sat down with Rick, I said, yo, Rick, you know that? And he looked at me, he goes, for real? I said, yeah, that made me do that.
We got to get Tone to do the remix or the new version.
That is your favorite.
And we got to put Tone surfing in Coney Island.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun for sure.
That video and Come Baby Come were directed by Hype Williams.
Really?
And Zingazang, yeah.
We're learning a lot today.
Yeah.
All right, but besides that, I want to know, because I am curious to know on these video sets, right? Like, whose idea was it for you just to make out with all the girls in the video?
All right.
Like, you made out in every video.
So, first of all, so here's one thing. All the chicks, most of the chicks I made out with. No. The one chick that I actually made out with was one of the inspirations from Maria, right?
Oh, okay.
So
she was open.
Yeah, and she was in 2 of the 3 videos that we did, right? So if you see me making out with a chick, it's the same chick. That's one.
Okay.
Right? which was really hard to come home to your baby mama finding out that you're making out with your ex on video. But that's another story for another day. That's another story for another day. So she was one, and then it looked like I made out with the other ones, but I didn't.
No, the Move It Like This video, you had Shorty on the beach.
Yes. You were making out.
The one that goes like this is the girl.
You was on her neck.
That's the girl, one of the girls I wrote Maria about. That's one of them. The one that I'm on her neck that she comes out of the water.
Yeah.
That was my man's girl.
Oh my God.
And no, it's my man's wife now, but at the time I didn't know that they were together. And I found out afterwards, and he goes, "Yo, you're kissing my wife's neck in the video," and I'm going, "Oh, I am so sorry." I felt horrible, but I mean,
the stories.
It's funny.
The stories.
It's funny.
I love that we're learning a lot here. Earlier when you were mentioning Grandmaster Caz, I thought it'd be really cool to bring this up, but the Cold Crush recently did something cool where they made Cool G Rap an honorary member of the Cold Crush.
Bro, I've been dying for the moment that they look at me and say, "Come on," because I know basically all the routines. I know verses by Caz that no one else knows. 6'1.5", no good at math, rhyme to myself when I'm taking a bath. Come on, man. Like I know verses by Caz. I know their routines, like some of them forwards and backwards. Same thing with the Furious Five. I used to sing "Flash It to the Beat," which is to me the first honest to God sing-songy rap record that there ever was. Flash to the Beat was Flash was programming a beat live on stage, and the guys would make a routine to it, and they would sing their routines to it. I can tell you that oh man, I'm a historian, so I can tell you that Melly Mel is the first rapper to say a verse 4 times in 4 different records and cake off 4 times on the same verse.
The same verse.
The same verse. On the message, a child is born with no state of mind, blind to the ways of mankind. He did it again in Super Rapping 1, in Super Rapping 2, and he did it on another record prior to those 2 songs. That's Next crazy. Time Melly Mel's here, ask him about that.
Cloth talk.
Knowledge.
Yo, I was just gonna say, let me throw this in real quick. We've talked about TK on the show many times. We've even had UFO Fev up here. Yeah. I think it'd be dope if you made Inf an honorary member of TKA and y'all did like an album together. That'd be dope as shit.
I'll send them the blazer in the mail.
No, I always talk about K7 on this show because that was a part of my childhood.
Yeah, and you always play on your
I played Move It Like This at least in a year, probably on the radio. I played at least 6 times.
Yeah.
Because it just represents a certain part of my childhood. Right. Growing up uptown, I grew up in Kingsbridge, which is like Upper Manhattan, Bronx. And, this was the sound. Like you guys, Joe Public. I mean, there was Curious. Yeah. There was certain guys uptown that.
Shout out to Curious.
Yeah.
My guy.
Shout out to that. So, all right. So now looking past this, right, we have just had the 50th year of hip hop. And when I went to Radio City Music Hall, when Tony Touch threw that event, I was pleasantly surprised to see how alive freestyle music still is, right? I think when I thought of freestyle music before that, it's Orchard Beach on Sundays. Right. This is kind of like where I just
because you remember the big events that we would do at Orchard
Beach. Orchard Beach on Sundays. So what is the end all legacy of freestyle music, and is there growth for like a resurgence, maybe with a younger demographic or?
It's weird. I look at freestyle as hip hop's cute sister that hip hop didn't want their friends to know about. You have to look at it that way because it's like. Everything that is freestyle is everything that is hip hop. We sample the same beats. We are basically from the same neighborhoods. Florida, Miami, Chicago. Yeah. We basically grew within a stone's throw of each other. We've influenced each other so much. I mean, seeing Joe sample. I was talking to Pretty Lou about this a few minutes ago. Seeing Joe sample Stevie B is letting you know that, hey, this touched me. This made me, want to do stuff. Nina Sky singing "I Wonder If I Take You Home" at their shows. It lets you know that these songs meant something. It's New York. It's the East Coast, hip hop sound, right?
Yeah.
The original sound, if you will. So I think that we're hand in hand with each other. The fact that it's still growing, it's like there was a time where freestyle ruled radio. And then right before the golden age, right before the golden age started, there wasn't a radio station in New York that didn't play freestyle on the air. Hot 97 was originally a freestyle station. And I think we traded places with our older brother, right? We became the underground sound.
Yeah.
And the people that grew up with this music, they're so loyal to it. They're so loyal to it that they won't let it die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because it's they won't accept. It takes a lot for them to accept new music. So when I say resurgence, in the sense of shows, yes. In the sense of music, it's gonna take something really special to bring the music back. But it can't be done, in my opinion, it can't be done by we who created it. It has to be a younger, generation that comes forward and takes it and changes it for themselves.
Yeah.
I think that with Joe and Khaled sampling Stevie B Spring Love, maybe it'll make, some kid at home go, yo, my mother used to dance to this, maybe I should sample this and get somebody else to rhyme over it. That's what I think would be the way to bring it back. Yeah. But who knows?
Well, kids, if you're listening, there are guys still touring all over the world.
Every single week.
Style music. Special thank you to my guest, K7, for pulling up to the Punchline Academy. And I got to tell you, the next time I see you, you got to have a verse ready for me. Because I didn't know that he was an actual rapper.
I will.
Really?
I promise.
So we got to make sure we get a verse. This is the Punchline Academy. This is Shade 45. I'm Inphamus Amadeuz. Play some heat. We'll be back here on SiriusXM.